Okay.
Hello, everyone. We are Stay to the Credits podcast. We have a special episode here for you guys. We have some special guests that from some of our friends that we made on TikTok. Introduce yourselves, guys.
Hi, I'm Peter Witechko.
I'm John Witechko.
I'm Matthew Witechko.
Together we are the Witechko Bros. Yeah, on TikTok.
Yeah, the Witechko brothers here on TikTok. They have some amazing videos that I'm always watching their stuff. I'm always watching their lives. And over here, let me just say some of their
Thanks, JP.
Thank you. There's some of their stats. They have 25,000 followers at the moment and an amazing 1.2 million likes on TikTok. You guys are doing awesome jobs right here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's been fun.
And for those who don't know their videos, they're basically Spider-Man lovers like us, but especially the Raimi trilogy, just like us. These guys are big nerds, just like us. I mean, there's nothing more you can say apart from we're basically friends that we could be friends, and if they lived closer, we would probably hang out with them all the time, just like me and Sebastian.
Internet friends and fellow creators.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's what's so fun about doing stuff online like that is you meet people that you definitely would never meet otherwise. And so we have a lot of fun making different videos about Spider-Man or Star Wars or Marvel or Doctor Who, and then make those different connections like with you guys in the Raimi Spider-Man movies. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm the one that's always joining their lives, and we're always talking about different movies. Sometimes it'll be Spider-Man, sometimes it'll be Star Wars or anything. But it's just so interesting to talk and talk about different movies. And we might all have different opinions, but it's always fun to talk about movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, today we are talking about the duology of the Amazing Spider-Man, and for the occasion, that's what we brought on the Witechko brothers, sorry, and Sebastian.
What's up?
I messed up there, but anyways, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm JP,
and I'm Sebastian. Hey.
And this is Stay to the Credits podcast, and obviously, like I said, we're gonna talk about the Amazing Spider-Man, the duology, but first, let's just focus on the first one. So, guys, Witechko brothers, what do you guys think in general? Your opinions on this first movie?
So we rewatched them both just this week. One day, one the next day. So it's kind of nice seeing them put those together. I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was similar in some ways, but also clearly very different from the Raimi. It's hard not to compare to the Raimi films. Like, I don't like always saying, "Oh, this did this, the other ones did that," but like it's just so easy to. But I liked Spider-Man, like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man / Peter Parker. The film felt very high school-y to me, that I feel like the other films don't necessarily. I mean, the new ones could have like the John Hughes vibe, but like very high schooly, very teenager angst. I like.
I would say this is very angsty.
Yeah, it is. But I overall really enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's no getting around. Andrew Garfield is just fabulous. Great actor. He's great in this.
Yeah.
So is Emma Stone, fabulous.
But they're very different, of course, too, obviously, from the Spider-Man we had before.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, just them on
different.
screen is incredible. I do like, we have a little bit of this different, like, indie romance sort of vibe going on here. I think, sequences of, like, Peter, testing his powers with indie music playing in the background. I do love that very specific vibe in this movie. And there are some just incredible sequences, like the bridge scene, I think, is incredible. And that scene where he swings from the construction equipment at the end is just also awe-inspiring. So really some great moments in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
maybe treads a little too close to the same path tread by the Raimi movies in this one, but
there was a few moments in particular that just felt like almost like they felt obligated to do it. Like we keep talking about the one at the convenience store.
Like,
that's not my policy. And it's
I
like,
missed the part where that's my policy.
Yeah, that
So I
felt
feel
very
like-
Bully Maguire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's not like that's from the comics where like he takes a thing that the guy said and reverses it. Like that's from that Raimi
Specifically
movie,
Sam
Spider-Man
Raimi,
1.
yeah.
So like, okay, so that's a little weird.
Interesting
Like
choice.
it's
But we
weird.
enjoyed
Like
it.
you realize, wait, they feel like they're obligated to do that. But other than that, it sticks out because like the current Spider-Man doesn't feel beholden to that at all.
Right.
So
Yeah, all the different Spider-Man have like different qualities, but
mhm.
they all kind of made it their own, which I kind of appreciate.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, like the Amazing Spider-Man duology, I think probably has like, even though it might be hated upon about like with story wise and everything, I still think that it probably has the best like CGI of all of the Spider-Man
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the web swinging, especially.
Yeah,
Like
the web
especially in the
swinging is
in
the
the in the
best.
second movie, like in that opening scene where Spider-Man's just like
Yeah.
swooping through the city and the helicopters and all that stuff. That scene is really cool. I love
Yeah.
that part. And then
Yeah,
the rest of the movie is just like that's the highest point of the movie, I think.
That's what I kept saying, is that like it feels just so seamless between like
Mhm.
when it's actually him physically, and part of it too is even like when it's physical, you can do so much more with like green screen than you could
Yeah.
like with the Raimi film. So like, even when it's actually him, you can do so much more. But then when it's not him, you really can't tell. Whereas like much as I love the Raimi
Yeah.
films, you can tell when it's like rubber Tobey Maguire
Yeah,
running and
yeah.
jumping around.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
But like here, it really blew me away, honestly.
Speaking of the special effects in Spider-Man 2, this is a small thing, but something I really enjoyed. Like when he's trying to take his costume off in his room and Aunt May's about to come in, and like he's like inadvertently climbing up the wall and on the ceiling as he's taking it off. I really love that moment, you know? I think it's hilarious. And also like it just looks so seamless. Yeah, it looks so
Yeah,
real,
real.
so believable.
Yeah.
You know, because it's Andrew Garfield, his full face and everything, as he's like effortlessly, accidentally crawling up a ceiling. And it's one of those moments that like it's funny, but also like kind of further pulls me into the world and the realism, quote unquote, of it, you know, and into the world building of Spider-Man, the things he has to deal with. So that's sort of a small moment, but as far as like seamless special effects work, I love that moment.
Yeah, that's
But we're getting into Amazing Spider-Man 2 here.
yeah, sorry.
I mean, since we're going to be talking about the first one right now, only just for the first part of the podcast, and the second part we'll talk about the second movie. But usually I like to for all our episodes, I usually like to hand it off to Sebastian to explain like what the movie's about. So Sebastian, give us a little detail about it.
Peter Parker gets spider powers. That's pretty much it.
Stop us if you've heard this one before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then
I
he has to
mean-
fight the lizard, so that's different.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's a retelling of a story we've heard a million times.
And
but
there's some
this movie
stuff
that-
going on with his dad, some like mysterious stuff with his dad and Oscorp.
That's
Yeah.
definitely like the biggest, I think, feels like the biggest difference between like this and the other films
And just the
beforehand.
tone. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
like there's like that mystery thriller quality to it that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily stick the landing. It doesn't really feel like it's like constantly part of it. It kind of like pops in and out through the course of both movies. Like, you know, we get, you know, again, sorry to get to the second film, but like, you know, that film has like that thing with like the train underground, but then like was out, like, you know, each film has those moments where we dig in and out. The first one does better connecting it back to like, you know, the lizard and to that project and to like his friend that he had and all that. But like, I don't know. It's like I almost like wish the whole, like, if they were going to go that way, the whole film would have gone for more like that kind of thriller. I mean, you see like the Alfred Hitchcock Rear Window poster in the background, of his room. So like that there's definitely an awareness there, but they're doing other things as well, so it doesn't quite become ever about that.
Right. I feel like, yeah, like in terms of like that spy thriller vibe, like that mystery, they should have either gone like all the way with that or like none of it. You know what I mean? But it's like just trying to mix too many elements of like different storylines.
It's interesting, but like it never like really counts for anything. I don't feel.
Yeah,
Make
it's
it, like,
interesting, but I think the execution is what like fails
I just
a
feel
little
like
bit.
they were like trying to make it into, they were gonna combine it until like the third movie, which never happened. And I mean, we saw it in the first one, that that whole Peter's parents thing, and then like a little bit in the second one, and we learned a lot more in the second one, but we never saw like the outcome,
Yeah, because even in 2, it's like still so mysterious. Like everything's still so vague. We have the same like mysterious shadowy figure at the end of both movies. Like, stay away from him, or like, oh, he's talking with Harry at the end of 2. But it's like, okay, what is it? You gotta tell us something at some like. We keep answering things, but like not really. Like what like have our cake and eat it do with the mystery.
Yeah, I guess they were just really hoping for the third one.
Yeah, but that is at least something refreshing for these ones that's different from the other ones. In addition to the lizard in the first movie, we also have this like conspiracy element with Oscorp.
I felt like they did add that just to be different, you know what I mean? Because if they didn't have that, I feel like people would compare it even more so to the Raimi movies.
More easily, yeah.
I mean, one thing that's different is just like the interpretation of Oscorp, and Oscorp is pretty cool, like a fixture in these 2 movies, like because everything sort of hinges on it, because like people aren't getting these powers from like different experiments, stuff like that. It's all like this one thing, Ben, his dad, and the Kurt Connors and Norman Osborn, like they're all connected in this like one story, and that's how Spidey gets his powers. How Harry gets his powers, and the lizard gets his. So like sort of Max, like it all sort of like a different like explanation for it, and it kind of all makes sense. It's one thing. I can believe that while these guys are running around with like animal themed powers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like they're studying like animal human genetic stuff. Yeah, combining it.
Did you guys ever play the Amazing Spider-Man video game?
No, but I kind of know that like you like fight like all these like lizard creatures around, right?
Yeah, well,
that's what he tries to do.
And you fight other villains specifically like animal themed. So you fight Scorpion, but he's like actual like half Scorpion. He's not a dude in the suit.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's
even know
more
that.
it's more animal based.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and then like at the end of 2, you see like all those different like you see like Dr. Octopus arms and the Rhino costume and stuff like that.
I don't know how that was supposed to like.
Which that was super. I remember when we first saw that, I was like, that was super cool. But like, then,
I don't know
like,
how there's like how they're playing those Doc Ock arms like to help anybody like survive or like live. I mean, it's cool because you have more hands now.
The Doc Ock arms make more sense than like the big Rhino suit does.
I suppose.
Like it did. You never had to make that big suit Rhino shape.
That's true. You didn't even give it a horn. Yeah.
I don't know what the practical application of that was.
I mean, it would have been kind of weird to see like a half rhino, half human.
That's true.
That's true too.
And that's definitely just just trying to set up the Sinister Six, and you do feel that vibe through, especially the sequel. I know we were talking about, but like that, like we're trying to get all these villains in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
first one
it just
like
felt.
that, I wouldn't say.
It just felt really rushed in the second one, but I mean, just talking about the first one. I mean, I think how did you guys feel about the lizard in like the whole movie?
Cool.
I liked him. I thought it was cool. I don't know. I think I looked on him more fondly in my memory than when I rewatched it. Like I always liked him as a villain, but in my mind, I don't know. In my mind, I was thinking he was more of like the Raimi villains in that he has more of a clear like father-esque connection to Peter, and he sort of has that in the movie. But from the get-go, at least for me, when we introduce him, he feels kind of sinister. He feels like there's something underlying underneath him. Maybe it's just the raw power that Rhys Ifans has on screen.
Probably.
But like when he first introduced him and like Peter's like, oh, you're doing genetics about animals, and he's like, oh, like this like his like stare makes it feel like it's a secret or something.
Well, I didn't feel that way per se.
That's how I felt.
About that like particular scene, but I do like agree that like I mean, he doesn't feel like as close to Peter as like Dr. Octavius or Norman Osborn did in the Raimi trilogy. Like those, and I'm sure you probably talk about that on the podcast about like these different characters. Like I know, he's like there's a like they go to Thanksgiving dinner together. You know what I mean? Like they're very close. Like he's rooming with his son. And he's sort of like almost sees Peter as like his son or wants him to be his son.
And I think part of that stems
he has dinner with Dr. Octopus too.
Yeah.
Like, not because of the trying to get in, well, maybe he's trying to write a report, but it's not like, for like a big reason, just because like they're really kind of connect.
So they end up talking about poetry in that scene.
Yeah,
right, and talking about poetry.
It's very personal. Whereas like here, and I think it stems from the fact that again, it's going like that mystery thriller thing. So they're constantly making you want to question who everybody is. And so when Peter comes to his house, and he's like, what's his dad's name?
Richard.
I'm Richard Parker's son.
Richard.
And he has this look that goes over him like, oh, like so like I think part of it is you kind of feel this. It's not quite a strong connection because they're making you feel like there's something uneasy about.
I guess it's part of
underneath
the fallout of that like mystery thriller vibe that the movie has.
So I liked him, but it was different from how I remembered it. I thought there was much more of a stronger Norman to Peter or Otto to Peter feel vibe. I still like it.
I personally don't know if the character was given as much time and space in the movie to be as strong of a villain as some of the ones we got in the Raimi movies before that. But I mean, I do find it interesting how he does go from like, I'm trying to make the world a better place. You can't test this stuff on unsuspecting veterans, and then suddenly ultimately goes like full on fascist, like humans are weak. We need to upgrade the species. Whether they want to or not. A world of people that aren't alone. That aren't suffering. And I you do sort of see where the lizard's coming from. So I always like those aspects that you empathize. You tend to empathize a lot with Spider-Man villains, and he sort of continues that tradition.
Yeah, I like that he wasn't like trying to. He almost didn't do anything wrong until he went crazy.
He's got that line where he says,
I won't do this. Like he was gonna he was gonna move out.
Yeah, he got a lizard brain. He's got that line, I think, in the high school where he says, I can save them, Peter. There's no need to stop me. And so I like where he's coming from.
It's because since he turned into a lizard, the lizard turned him into a fascist, dude. So that's how you know lizards are fascists.
That's how we know.
Yeah, all the fascists are reptilians.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you see in the sewer sequence, all the lizards following each other.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And the little army, yeah.
Dang,
that's a cool little detail.
They all got lizard brain.
Yeah, I do love that moment. Yeah,
I do like just like he sort of doesn't do anything wrong, like because it almost like is comparison to like from Spider-Man 1 with Green Goblin. He's a scientist, and they're doing these kind of crazy experiments, and he tests it on himself. But it's like. Norman did that because he was gonna lose money and whatever. I can't need to do it myself. But like he's just like he wasn't gonna do it, and he said I won't do it, and then
he does it to stop the veterans having to be tested.
Right, but they're going because he threatens him, says I'm gonna shut you down, and he's like okay, and like this isn't just showing out he's a scientist, and he's gonna that means he's not gonna his dream of getting his arm back.
Yeah,
and he says okay, that's fine because like ethically I can't do that.
Yeah,
so that's nice. He's like he's a good guy. But then, he only does it because, like, well, if we're going to do these unsuspecting veterans, well, it should be me instead.
He tries to stop, him from testing at the veterans hospital.
So he's good. He does, like, everything right.
And that's what leads him to the bridge and turning into the lizard.
And it's nice where I felt bad that he went crazy and we sort of lost that, like because he was very, like, morally conscious, basically. He's a very, like, thoughtful, but then he sort of like...
I would be curious, like, if they continue that series to a third one, if he could have become some sort of an ally to Peter, because I know they seem to be building up a Sinister Six, but he definitely seems to have a lot of empathy for Peter. He tells Gustav Fierce, the mysterious gentleman at the end, to stay away from Peter. So I would be curious to see if he would come back into the story in some way. But
maybe we'll see.
Mean, we saw that obviously it's a different story, but in the Raimi trilogy, he did have like a little connection with Dr. Connors when he was his professor.
Yeah.
And like obviously there was no hate there. So
right.
I mean, maybe if they did continue it, maybe we could have seen a similar relationship. But I mean, like I said, it's a different story. And I mean, there's a lot of, like we've mentioned it before, the similarities are like kind of homages to like the Raimi trilogy. Like I think the very first big one I noticed after like the Bully Maguire part was where it's like he was like chasing down the criminals that killed his uncle, or like trying to see someone that looked like his uncle, or like the killer that looked like his
Mhm.
uncle,
Mhm.
that he falls into that wrestling ring, and we see like where we see his inspiration for the mask. And obviously,
Yeah.
like, there's no way that you can't say like it's not like a homage to
Oh, yeah.
the Raimi trilogy.
Because it does come a little bit out of nowhere too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
falls out of
he literally
nowhere.
falls into it.
Yeah. So that, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like very obligatory. Like, oh,
Right.
we got to throw him in
But
the
I
wrestling
mean,
ring.
To be fair, that is a reference to the comics because
It
like
is,
that's
it is in
Yeah.
the comics.
you know,
Yeah.
but it does
No,
feel like
yeah.
very like, oh, we can't do the
gotta
wrestling
do
thing
it.
again because
Yeah.
they did that in the Raimi movies and it was such a big
Right.
scene in the Raimi movies, so we can't do that
Yeah.
again. But here's a little like nod to the
Yeah.
fans.
Well, I was gonna say
Yeah.
also the his like when he's getting his powers in the subway, I sort of felt some like Raimi vibes from that. We're having these like weird flashes,
Yeah.
as he's having that weird experience. Stuff felt a little bit inspired maybe by that scene where Peter falls asleep and we get that weird little montage in Peter's head.
Mhm.
Talking about the subway though, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that there's like a big editing mistake in the subway in the fight scene.
What was
Have you
that?
guys noticed it?
I guess not.
Maybe not.
So basically, I mean, you're gonna have to rewatch the scene, but basically, that whole time where he's like stuck to the pole,
Yeah.
there's this part where like I can't remember if there's a white guy that turns into a black guy or the black guy turns into a white guy. I can't remember.
Really?
Yeah, but that one part where one of them hits him with a skateboard.
Yeah.
And the skateboard breaks, but like I said, I think it's the white guy, he turns into a black guy.
And then somebody else.
Yeah, but it's like it's a big editing
Interesting.
mistake.
That whole scene is like pretty rough because the editing is like it always swaps, it always jump cuts, and then there's like it goes black for like a second, like it pops in and out. It's very weird.
It was kind of weird. I do agree. It was kind of a weird because it was. I like the effect he was going for, but then at some point it was like too disorienting. Like I was like, I get it, he's disoriented, but like I can't see what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. I do like the scene though. The music's fun. And
Yeah,
everything.
no, it was cool. But I mean, talking about like characters like that, I mean, makes me think of there's so many background like extras in like the Raimi films that make zero sense.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about and like the one scene where Peter's fighting Flash and there's like one guy
Yeah,
in the
I
background.
know exactly who you're talking about.
Like for at one moment he's like clapping and applauding him,
And then the other one
next
he's like
scene he's like angry at him, and it's like what's his
Yeah.
reaction? So like, oh, that makes these films fun. Like the more you watch it, the more you see some of like the filmmaking behind it, and that's fun.
Speaking of Raimi influence, though, like the ending, the final swing in this one, that's very much, like almost obligatory. Like, well, Sam Raimi ended 2 out of 3 with this. We're gonna have to do that with this one too, And I kind of like even the fact that when that ending sequence starts and you see the city, and then you pull out and you see you're actually seeing the city through his eye, that feels like an extreme sort of reference to something Sam Raimi would do, like
Or an inspiration at least.
yeah, like an inspiration, yeah, like they do something similar in Spider-Man 2 when you see the city, but then you pull out and realize that you're in like Doc Ock sunglasses, and that's sort of how this movie ends, and then it goes into Peter's big final swing, which I love, but yeah, there is a lot I think of like what are the fans expecting from the groundwork Sam Raimi laid in this one.
Yeah.
So like, what are you guys' thoughts on like Mary Jane versus Gwen Stacy? Do you guys have a preference?
I don't have a preference, but I did really like Gwen. I liked Gwen a lot.
Gwen
in those
Stacy
movies.
supremacy all the way, dude.
Well, I mean, she definitely has. I mean, we were just talking before we started this, just like thinking of even just like the last like sequence of the movie where she's an Oscorp and she's helping people evacuate. And she steals like an Ollie device and she has like the flamethrower. Like she's and that's just one sequence, but like just she's so much more her own character.
Yeah.
Like you wonder, like from making this movie versus like coming off that last choice, like okay, like what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do to differentiate? What are we gonna do different? I mean, say okay, we're gonna make something grittier, this that. Like maybe we'll make a one stage like do more. Like maybe not just
they made it more active.
Yeah. But again, like they're different films trying to accomplish different things.
Right.
So I mean, like Gwen's father is also an important character.
Yeah.
So like if you want him to work and you want that father figure thing to she also whereas in the other films it wasn't about Mary Jane or about her family or anything. It was pretty much all about Peter or the villain.
Like here she is probably like the second character. He's like, Spider-Man's the main character. Gwen Stacy's probably the second main character. Then maybe the Lizard. Whereas like in the Raimi films, I might put that second spot to the villain of that movie.
Yeah,
right. So
I feel like Mary Jane in like the Raimi trilogy is just like a damsel in distress. That's all she is. And then Gwen Stacy, obviously, she's like her own thing. Like she can hold herself together, she can defend herself, she can do a lot of things, and she's very smart and intelligent.
Well, and I will say too, I remember even watching it for the first time. It's very refreshing that like midway through the first movie, already she knows that Peter's Spider-Man. Like that's a huge change. Yeah. I do kind of love that. We took like 2 whole movies in the first series for the love interest to even know, but here she gets to be included in what's going on. The whole dynamic's different. We get to a spot a lot earlier of like, these people are now in a relationship. It took until like Spider-Man 3 for Peter and MJ to get into a relationship. And even then it was not a great relationship. So that is sort of a nice refreshing change of pace of how they integrated Gwen into it. So I'm a big fan of that. And I love seeing Peter and Gwen together too. They obviously have great chemistry. I know, John, you've mentioned like when you're watching some of these scenes, it's almost like you're not watching Peter and Gwen. It almost feels like the director snuck up on
Andrew Garfield and
Emma Stone just like flirting with each other.
Flirting. It feels like so real sometimes. I feel like uncomfortable. Like I'm just watching because like there's other parts of the film that are very stylized and other lines of dialogue that are clearly somebody wrote. Whereas like when they're talking and they're just the scenes of the 2 of them, I feel like I'm just watching people actually flirting and just like, I should be watching this.
It feels like they just left the camera on, and they just told them, just go for it.
Banter back and forth, very natural.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is the fact that Andrew and Emma Stone actually dated. So
but so were Toby and Kirsten. Like they were dating too. And sometimes it felt like there's no chemistry there. Sometimes.
But again, I think they have more freedom probably here to actually do just more talking and more ad-libbing and more naturalistic.
I feel like it's more the ad-libbing than anything else.
I know also like my girlfriend, she loves Gwen Stacy and Andrew's her favorite Spider-Man, and she like hates Mary Jane. and I know she'll watch this or just listen to this, but I know she'll like kill me if I don't mention like that I love also Gwen Stacy. Like Mary Jane is like she like says that Mary Jane is like really annoying or whatever, and I mean I guess I kind of agree with her in some aspects, but I mean it's like Andrew is I think kind of overhated upon.
I agree.
Because I was I guess maybe a little bit surprised and pleasantly surprised with the when we rewatched these the past couple of days, because I haven't seen them in a while, and I definitely like they're not the first Spider movies that come to my head. The first ones that come to my head are the original ones, then the current ones, and I don't really think about like I know they exist and I remember them, but like they're not the first. Like it's just like the third tier in my mind. But I see it and like it's different and it does something different, but they're definitely not perfect at all. But like they're good. There's something different.
But he's
I mean, even though there's differences, there's still things that like work,
Oh yeah.
I mean, but other stuff like that doesn't work. Like for example, in my opinion, I think one of the biggest changes with like Peter is like his personality. It's like completely different, and I don't think in my opinion, I just don't think it works. Like Spider-Man, like Andrew Spider-Man, amazing. I actually really love Andrew Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker performance, I don't know. It's just it doesn't work for me.
Maybe it's because I've had years to sort of accept it. I know what to expect now. But like when I watched them this week, I was totally on board with his Peter. And it is very different from what I would sort of expect. But like there is an element of snarkiness to Peter. Normally you see that after he's Spider-Man, and here it's earlier. So I know that does sort of change up the canon a little bit. But I do love seeing moments of like, even before he's Spider-Man, he's standing up to Flash against that kid that's getting bullied. That's very Peter Parker sort of moments. Obviously very smart. I don't know. He might have some creepy elements to him in some ways. Like I know, like the way we're introduced to him and Gwen is him like sneaking up and like taking a picture of her.
Which again, I mean, when we we're introduced to Mary Jane in the original movie, right? He takes a picture. It's not how she's introduced.
He asks if he can take a picture of
that
MJ.
is a different, yeah.
But yeah, so it is definitely a different vibe. Yeah, the skateboarding thing and
but
everything.
it is almost like it's like a different way of explaining how this sort of Peter Parker, this kind of nerd to Spider-Man dynamic works. Like, yeah, we see like, he does stand up to a bully, and he is a bit of a thrill seeker, and he is
a bit more of an outsider.
He eventually
awkward.
tempers it. He tempers it into just like the sarcasm, but it almost begins kind of like a jerk,
Yeah, but it is a different kind of nerd / outcast than the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is. He reminds me more of Zendaya's MJ in the new Spider-Man movies, where like she kind of like, I would think she's cool.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
But like in a high school society level, she's an outsider.
Yeah.
And so I feel the same way. I kind of see him which is more like I feel like a modern take of the outsider, of the geek, of the nerd, as opposed to like the classical look at it from like the 50s, 60s, or even like the John Hughes type films. And that's more where the Tobey films come in, of like this very quiet, preppy, wallflower type thing. Where it's like, this is more like, I'm, kind of against the establishment in my own way, and just no one is interested in me. I'm interested in my own things. I like, like nowadays, if like, oh, I like anime, or I like comic books, or I like this, or I like that, and it's a little bit different now, but still in some circles or some high schools, like if you're part of that club or you're part of that thing, like that's your core group, and no one else interested in that. And so that's kind of the vibe that I get from him. So it is different, but I can kind of buy it a bit.
He's definitely not popular, I guess.
Yeah.
He might be like cool to us. So I guess to say
cool
he's like cool to us, but
like a skateboarding guy is cool to me.
Like he would be our friend, but he wouldn't be like everybody's friend. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all different.
Something that I thought was pretty interesting, like when he graduates, like so many people cheer for him, and I'm like, I wouldn't expect that from him specifically, but maybe he like kind
That's
of
an interesting point.
Grew out of like his like nerdy side. Maybe he got more outgoing as he became, as he has like more experience as Spider-Man.
That's an interesting point, because I feel like 2 does focus on like his outsiderness less than the first one does.
Yeah.
He seems pretty comfortable in the second one. Like, when he's getting his graduating, he's kisses.
He makes out with
very
Gwen Stacy,
visually. Yeah, like high fives the principal or whoever he's walking by. Which I love that.
Yeah, I think it's really
confidence
cool.
definitely changed.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you have had some of that a little bit before, because he always had that.
Yeah, but I think he's able to kind of like open up more now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like the personality of Spider-Man helped him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Two things that I've been wanting to mention from like the first Amazing Spider-Man is the difference in, well, I've heard like a lot of opinions on Uncle Ben's death. They say that Uncle Ben's death is like kind of out of character for him, like the way he died. I don't know if you guys agree with that or disagree with that. Like, what are your opinions?
Like that he like stopped the guy?
I really thought it was cool. I really liked it.
I think that's something Uncle Ben would do. I think he would put himself above like other people. You know what I mean? Like he'd be responsible to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I love obviously the Uncle Ben in the Raimi films.
Yeah, Cliff Robertson does an incredible job.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
But like again, very different films to accomplish different things. And those films, like he has like very little screen time before he gets killed. But like because of the way the actor just brings it to life, like you buy all of it. And whereas like here, he's in the film many more scenes with him and Peter. And so you have more moments with him. And then to see not only by like saying it, but by like actual example about responsibility. Like if you can do good, you're expected to do it. And seeing him do that, I thought was really cool and just very heartbreaking. And again, like when Peter's there, it's just him. It's just him and Ben in this empty street.
So I
thought
it was really cool.
With the blood of Uncle Ben
On his
literally
hands.
on his hands.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I thought it was really, honestly, very heartbreaking.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was intense.
especially
sure.
like in the end where Peter gets to hear the voicemail and
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
hear the full talk. Like I've never like teared up with any of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, even when Gwen Stacy dies. Spoiler, I guess. But when I was listening to the voicemail, I was like, holy crap! Like I was imagining that being my uncle or like my father figure, and I was like, man, that must suck for Peter. Like,
Yeah. The connection between Peter and the death of his uncle just feels very visceral in this one.
and I feel like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
you're good.
in my opinion, I feel like this Uncle Ben got to be more of like a father figure, or like you get. I feel like I get more of a fatherly vibe from this one specifically, just because he like nags on Peter a little bit more. He like lectures him a little bit more. So
It does feel a bit more naturalistic, a bit
Yeah,
more realistic.
I feel like Sam Raimi's Uncle Ben. I love the guy, but I feel like he's just this wise, like up on the pedestal type of like figure.
More of like a symbol.
Yeah, he's more of a symbol, whereas this Uncle Ben, I feel like he's more of like a more natural character, more
and I both think
character.
they fit the movies really
Yeah,
well.
they
for
fit
what
the tone of like each movie.
Yeah. Especially because for as little as we get Uncle Ben in Sam Raimi's, he sort of needs to be more. But like you were saying, we do get more scenes of just everyday life.
Yeah, you see Uncle Ben like interacting with his family, which
I think that does
like.
really help.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with all of you. That those like people that say like the Gwen, Uncle Ben Sith is like a little out of character for me. Like I saw that on Reddit. It's just like some people and they were like, it was like a bunch of comments. It was like a whole thread.
Yeah,
but it was just like it was just saying that like they feel like it was out of character for him to reach out for the gun and everything. But I mean, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I do fully agree with the whole thing that it's a really nice attention to detail, like the whole difference with like his relationship with Peter. We see a lot more of it, and I love that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, or like just wanted to get an opinion, like what do you guys think about the change for the webs? Obviously now it's more comic accurate, but
I love the scene where he's like fiddling around with them and it like explodes all over his face and stuff like that. I think that's so cool. Like
how excited he is when he gets to work.
You know,
he does that face. He's like
This is great visually.
If you're watching on the YouTube video, we're all
it feels so real. Like I feel that more than like a line. More than like something someone could a piece of dialogue. I feel the physicality of that moment.
Yeah, and it makes you like really get a sense for how smart Peter is. Like he's watching YouTube videos, whatever, but he's like learning everything. And like especially with the montage also of like him making the suit, learning how to web swing by following like a bunch of nerds around college, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's so cool. Like I think that's so cool. That's such a neat touch to the whole movie.
I do like we do get to see Peter applying his intelligence more in this movie than through most of the Raimi ones. And then so we get the scene of him building the web shooters in the first one, which is great. And then sort of in the second one, we get sort of a parallel scene where he's like trying to figure out how to electro-proof them. And I do like getting to see those scenes of him trying to apply his intelligence to his crime fighting.
He does the same thing where he watches YouTube videos.
Yeah,
it just goes to show like you can learn a lot on YouTube.
But then in the end, it's Gwen Stacy that helps him actually electro-proof them.
Yeah. So I love the functions that they're able to play in the movie. I love the way they look. I love the way they sound. So I don't think it does it as much in the second one, but in the first one, there's a little like puff of like, you see like some sort of something come out of it. Yeah, I love that. So very tangible.
I like the look of them too. Like the big red thing. I don't know. It's cool. Like it really contrasts well with the suit because it's like just blue wrist and then like big red button.
Now the suit. What is your opinion on the suit?
I think it looks sweet. I mean,
no, you mean the first suit?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, I mean it's like definitely a bit grittier.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like a little darker.
It feels more like, again, we don't totally see him making the whole thing, but it somehow feels more like he may have made this.
I appreciate that they showed it more.
Yeah, to me it feels like somebody could definitely make this just because of how textured and like it is, because you can see like the soles of the shoes. You can see like the sunglasses that he used,
Right.
and I really like that.
I think that's really cool. Yeah. It definitely feels a little more realistic, and it definitely, I think, helps you connect with the character.
And yet it still feels like fantastic. Like I couldn't actually make it. Like it's definitely something that can only exist in a superhero movie. But I feel like it is real.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're cosplayers can make some pretty cool stuff. So
Yeah,
Someone can make that.
definitely.
so maybe he could. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like the way it progressed in the second one. I know we all love that Amazing
Yeah, the
Spider-Man
second
2
one.
suit.
Yeah.
But the first one I love too for the purpose it serves. It's Peter's first
You're right.
real Spider-Man suit.
The first one, it makes sense because again, it's a bit of a darker time there for him, so it makes it like that's sort of the interpretation, like that's the suit he would make, you know, because before he was just like, it's still the point when he's just like trying to, he has this vendetta and he's trying to find these when he makes that suit, so it still is like almost like a Batman type thing where it's like it's scary. Like,
he's not really thinking about being a hero. He's just
Right,
going
just
after
finding
Uncle
people.
Ben's killer.
right in dark alleys. So like, yeah, if he can scare people, I mean, so much the better. You know what I mean?
I do like how that movie sort of takes the time to sort of evolve that arc a little bit. Like he doesn't just set out to be a hero. You know, he sets out to avenge Uncle Ben's death. You know, and at a certain point, somewhere along the way, he starts sort of maybe fooling himself into thinking that he's helping people, you know, that he's doing the right thing for its own sake.
He's doing what the police can't.
Right. But it sort of takes George Stacy pointing out to him, like, everyone he brings in, like, looks the exact same. He clearly has some sort of vendetta. And for Peter to be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's not until like that scene right after that, the bridge scene, where he, you know, reunites his father and son and really officially takes on that mantle of Spider-Man and, you know, takes on that responsibility of like, you know what? This lizard thing, I think I caused it. I need to stop it. And you get to really see him like evolve into that responsible figure of Spider-Man that we know and love, which is a new angle for this movie. And I like that. And it plays off of what Uncle Ben tells him earlier, you know, after he humiliates Flash. Like, yeah, you feel good about yourself, Peter? You know what? You know, like, it's all worth it then, isn't it? Because you got your revenge, you know, and that's something that, you know, Peter clearly needs to learn a lesson about, that's, you know, that's just self-serving.
Yes.
And it's nice in this one.
Now, I didn't even mention, but the movie right now is rated at a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you guys agree with that rating? Would you give it a little lower, higher?
That seems not. I mean, I hate like rating films sometimes, but that doesn't feel. Because as much as I love it as a film as a whole,
Yeah.
there are just some moments or ideas that either don't make sense or don't go anywhere or fall flat. So like 72, 76, you know, that area seems somewhat fair to me.
As far as the Rotten Tomatoes score goes, that sounds fairly fair for it, I would say, yeah.
But again, doesn't make it bad. I still enjoy it. I'll watch it again and enjoy it again.
It's
But
definitely
there
a
are
very
certainly
enjoyable
things.
film.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
And I love that scene where Stan Lee's like cleaning the library or like putting all the books away.
Yeah, I think that's like one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos, honestly.
That's a good one, yeah.
I like. I knew it was in the movie, and yet I was still like surprised when it happened. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, Stanley's like in the front of the screen.
And that's a great. I love that whole scene too. Incidentally, that fight with Lizard in the school,
Very cool.
I think is really cool. The way like Peter's on the ceiling, on the ground, you know, and like just being in this
Both
school
crawling
setting.
around.
The way he catches the table and like saves
Yeah,
Stan
yeah.
Lee too. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love the the moment where like Lizard's like, oh, here's some dangerous chemicals flying around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Well,
love everything that scene does.
It's not like a bunch of them, just like
like two things, and like those.
yeah.
But it's still cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Yeah, it really shows like the lizard. Obviously, we know he's a scientist, but it shows like
Yeah.
his intelligence. Like even with
Still
like high
there.
school things, like, he'll mix a thing, throw it.
Yeah.
It's just a cool little detail there. I mean, I wouldn't want to focus too much on the first one, but anyways, we'll move on now. We can actually fully talk about the second one. But obviously, we see a big upgrade with the suit. We see more about Peter's parents, and we see that Peter's parents are more like, you know, they had some more mystery going on, like you guys mentioned before, and it was a cool attention to detail, and with also like the whole subway thing again with his parents.
Roosevelt.
And now we're also introduced to Harry Osborn, which is I forgot the
Dude, I
actor's
forgot.
name.
Honestly, I forgot he was in this movie. I saw.
Dane
I saw
DeHaan.
it too.
Yeah.
I finished watching that this morning. So
Yeah,
Hmm.
the actor's name, Dane Hanan.
Dane
Or
DeHaan.
Dane
Yeah.
DeHaan, yeah.
I mean,
Dane
easy to
Hanan.
forget.
Again, similarly, like I knew he was in the movie, and then when he appeared, I was still surprised.
It
I like-
feels a bit obligatory.
yeah.
Like
Well-
we want to kill off Gwen Stacy,
Well,
and it's got to be the Green Goblin to do it.
Right.
So
We need to kill off Gwen Stacy, and we need another member for the Sinister Six. But we don't want him to be the main villain because we had two of those in the last trilogy. So we don't want him to be the main villain. And I said almost like after watching, like maybe he should have almost been the main villain because like as awesome as Electro is, and his powers are awesome. Like Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 felt a little bit more like original Spider-Man 3. That there's a lot going on.
there's
Yeah.
a lot going on.
And like
And
maybe it's
definitely.
like, if you kind of Electro like to like the themes, I don't think he adds too much to the main like themes of the movie of like father figures and death and this kind of stuff. I don't think he necessarily adds too much. And then to like he doesn't have like a personal connection to these characters like Harry's supposed to have with Peter. Like they're like best buds. Like everyone's like otherwise connected. Maybe like, he should have just been the main villain. But I mean, at the same time, I'm sure they want Electro because he's awesome. Cooler usage of special effects.
Mhm.
I mean, he really. I mean,
Very
it's
cool.
It's very
He
cool
may-
to see.
He may not have like the connection with like the father figure thing, but his connection is that Spider-Man forgot his birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Electro in this movie. I mean, I think Jerry Fox.
I empathize. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to feel bad for
I
him.
feel for him
Mhm.
so much the entire movie. I mean, the entire movie, every time, like even when
Yeah.
he's Electro, he still those moments of
Yeah, I
like,
know. I'm gonna watch like, why do you gotta keep making me feel bad about this guy? Like, you got it. I did it. Like
got me.
from the first like moment, I felt bad.
Like I told you, it was worse too. They deleted scenes where like his own mother hates him. I mean, he's just such a sad and pathetic figure.
Yeah,
It's hard not to
yeah.
feel bad for him.
And then at the end he just died. He just
Yeah,
explodes.
I was
It's like, oh, okay.
I was surprised and forgot that he died because Lizard lives
Mhm.
and Harry lives.
But
Why is he's like the most
'Cause we gotta
pathetic of them all,
we
and
gotta
yet he's the
overcharge
one that
it's
explodes.
always he's the most powerful. Is no other way to take. Like practically,
How do
I
you
get
stop
it.
him?
Yeah.
But like, but then another weird thing about this movie is that we don't get to really deal with the fact that like they killed him
Yeah.
because then Gwen dies,
happen.
and that's the important.
Yeah.
That's the focus now. But like that's kind of
The ending
a
of the
big
film
thing.
was very rushed.
for
and muddled.
Peter. I would
Which
think.
ending? This movie, it's like Return of the King. There's like 5 endings to this movie. They just sort of keep going.
Yeah, I mean endings, defeating Electro. Then Green Goblin comes in and
Mhm.
kills Gwen, and then there's a funeral.
He comes in out of nowhere. It's so
And then
rushed
Spidey
in.
comes
and then he
in.
fights.
Oh
and then
wait,
he fights
he-
yeah.
There's a whole, that's a whole nother movie. Like after,
Yeah.
like once Gwen Stacy dies, you'd almost be like, well, I guess that's the end of the movie. But like then you get like Amazing Spider-Man 2.5 happens. Like
2.5.
yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2.5 because like that there's a whole like movie length arc that Peter goes through by the end of the movie. Like he lost his significant other. I'm sorry, he didn't lose her. She was murdered. He deals with that. We
Stops being
watched.
Spider-Man.
He stops. He gives
Which
up
the
being
whole thing in
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
That he stops being Spider-Man.
Crime goes up. We see him like taking all this time mourning and trying to process. Ultimately, he finds a strength to come back to like listening to her words again and taking them to heart and sort of finally realizing, okay, there's certain things of her that I need to let go and certain things that I can keep. And he picks what those are and he gets back into being the hero again. He becomes Spider-Man again. That's like a whole movie's worth of a character arc right there
Well,
that
and
happens at the very end
the
of this
first
one.
film does that kind of similarly. I mean, like once Captain Stacy dies, we have the funeral, Gwen goes to the funeral, and Peter's like, "I can't be with you anymore." Oh, he made you promise, didn't he? And then like they're mopey for like a minute, and then like they go to school, and it's
Forget
like what is it about promises? The only promises you can't keep, but those are the best kind.
Well,
and then like they're together
He
again.
goes, he's late to class, and maybe just for this reason,
So-
so he says, "You're late." Is it won't happen again? It's like, don't make promises you can't keep. He's like, okay, that's exactly what I expected would happen. And like,
He predicted that's what the teacher
yeah, like that's
said.
when he went and like,
But like, so they both kind of have that where like he loses everything, but then like we have like a 7-minute sequence where it all comes back again. Okay,
that almost does feel like a big thing because like that was like such a I had a promise, and it's like it's fine.
I mean, they just don't want to end the films, I guess, with like not bringing it back to the equilibrium of like he's Spider-Man again, everything's good, but that feels like a little. I don't know, which not right, especially for Spider-Man.
I feel like I would have preferred if he just like stopped being Spider-Man, and if they ever made Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 3, he's like still moping.
That's where
the city's in chaos. There's no heroes, and then boom, Spider-Man steps up.
I would think so. Yeah. In hindsight, I mean, if we're only going to get 2 of these movies, it's probably better to do it this way to tap it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels very sort of off kilter that, like you said, almost feels like a whole nother movie.
Yeah.
Let alone if we would have introduced Richard Parker again, as I know we have in a deleted scene.
Yeah.
You know, like
I was going to mention that deleted scene to you guys.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like, how would that even fit in? I don't know. That's a whole nother ending.
The 6th ending, yeah.
I mean, I do wonder how like you would end this movie then, because like that might be like the best like story-wise to end where he just sad and stops being Spider-Man, but like they don't want to end the movie that way because they would be hopefully excited for the next one. Already this movie is like pretty dark and sad. Like to me, like her dying is very sad, and like you sort of leave being very sad.
These are sort of 2 movies all about killing Gwen in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like they sort of just exist to kill Gwen. 2 movies that that it takes to make you really like Gwen, really care about their relationship together. The second one, well, the first one deals a lot with death and loss, and the second one even more so. She has her whole thing about running out of time and everything, and then they kill her off. It's like it almost feels like the movies were built to serve this purpose. There's a moment in the first one, I don't know if it was planned or just a happy accident, but when Peter and Gwen go swinging, it's like they're not going to see, let's go swing, show the city. Like after they swing past the camera holds on this clock tower, for a moment. And I guess I don't know if that's intentional or just a happy accident, but it sort of foreshadows. It's kind of striking to me, like knowing where the next movie is going to go. Geez, they don't have much time, So it's interesting to see the movies sort of built with that purpose in mind. Even that moment where like he like I don't know, in the first one he's like, I'm going to throw you out this window, okay? Yeah.
I actually didn't notice that detail about the clock tower.
I didn't notice that either.
I didn't.
But it was my first time noticing. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's a happy accident or if it was intentional, but in conjunction with like throwing Gwen out the window and then webbing her, it does in the first movie. It does sort of feel like we have all these little subliminal reminders of where this is going.
And I mean, the second one, I feel like one of the main themes is time, because like Harry's running out of time, Norman ran out of time. Gwen and Peter, they're running out of time because Gwen's gonna go off to
going away.
Yeah. So it's like a big theme, definitely. Yeah.
And ultimately, they run out of time whenever he's going. Whenever she's falling down the inside of a clock tower, and he's not literally to catch her.
He literally.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. The movie opens up inside the watch, Richard Parker's watch. He's running out of time. So we up with this clock. We end with the clock tower, and I mean, as much grief as we've given the end of the movie. Like metaphorically, symbolically, I love it.
Visually.
Well, yeah, visually, everything. When Peter's like jamming his foot into the gears of this clock,
trying to hold back. And we go out and see like the clock stuck, but then eventually it breaks, the whole thing explodes.
He's literally trying to hold back time.
I love that. Yeah. So like as much grief as I've given it, like I really do love
that. Does feel like a very like iconic and classic scene. And you think of these other Spider-Man films, like how they're like iconic and classic. That's one that that you would come back to. Like, this is
but like the reason we don't is because Goblin comes out of nowhere and nothing adds. Like, so that's what holds us back from putting that scene up as like an iconic Spider-Man.
Because like as impactful as her death is, and it is, but like I feel like it'd be more impactful if like she died at the hands of something that felt like it was part of like the story or these movies. Like Green Goblin, he comes out of nowhere. Harry comes out of nowhere.
It's so rushed. I mean, talking about the Goblin, what did you guys think about his redesign, or also Electro's design?
Electro's design was awesome.
Yeah, I thought Electro looked freaking cool. I mean, and then like even when he started like disappearing with the electric, like I forgot about that.
I thought that was really cool.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Like especially because you can like kind of see like I don't know like his skeleton or something like that.
Yeah.
Even, like it like pops into like.
It was almost kind of gross, but like it was like really again very like comic booky. Very that was sweet.
Very
special effects. You know?
Yeah, very Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like just thinking of the effects in this movie, like I like it never threw me off. Like I was never like, oh, that's CGI.
Yeah,
like he felt very fit. I think we had a lot of scenes where it was him with obviously stuff over him, but very clearly his physical body there performing and stuff, his eyes, his mouth, and all that. I think that helps him really stand out. I was okay with Goblin.
I do like how nasty the Goblin's redesign is.
Yeah,
again, kind of. Not quite Ultimate Spider-Man where he turns into this big hulking thing, but the fact that it is like actually him and not a mask, is a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's
a little bit Ultimate Spider-Man.
And we have like at the beginning of the movie, like Norman has like his
his
hairy claw hands, and then we kind of like bring that back later with Harry.
I think that's neat. I think that's very interesting. I know we were talking about like did he know that suit had those regenerative abilities, because the movie sort of like offhandedly exposits that earlier on. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we have this battle suit with it can regenerate you on the battlefield.
Wounds, yeah.
And then like he just like starts crawling toward that. It does seem a little bit.
It's another one of those like weird like why like you just have
got to get him on the glider. Yeah,
you just have to be like, oh, I'll assume that it all makes sense, but like there's a lot of those moments.
Yeah,
well, I liked Harry though. I was kind of okay, I think, with Harry in the movie. Again, like it's tough because like I like a lot of these parts individually, but they don't necessarily all come together.
That's the thing, yeah.
But like for him himself, I liked him. I liked the relationship with Peter. I liked some of the moments they had. They had like very few scenes together.
It really wasn't. Yeah, as much as I might like individual things, I really think the movie sort of does a disservice. It really doesn't get to give them the time together, Peter and Harry, to really make all this meaningful in the end,
Yeah, they just kind of like play it off like, oh yeah, like I knew you like a long time ago. Like, oh, we were friends like 10 years ago.
That rings a little hollow, and I do kind of like this creepy attitude that Dane DeHaan brings to this version of Harry. He does seem kind of like, I don't know, a little bit aloof and a little just kind of creepy the whole time, a little quiet,
drooping eyelids.
Yeah, a little droopy and everything. And like, I would have liked to sort of explore, like, maybe we could have gotten like a flashback scene, like how did these two kids get along? They seem so different. I have to assume it's because like Richard Parker and Norman Osborn were working together, and at some point or other, their kids would just have to hang out. They'd be in the same place.
I haven't thought about that.
And I think if you think about the movie, like maybe being too much going on, and like that's something like you could have had.
That's
more
something that would have helped. Yeah, get to see a little bit of. We do get other flashbacks. Why don't we get a flashback of these guys?
Yeah, I feel like for sure this movie should have definitely been split between like two, like maybe just Spider-Man, Electro, and then Spider-Man and Goblin. And just go from there, but I mean, like you guys said, like individually, everything is really cool. It's just together, it just doesn't work.
That's a good point. So maybe like because we're talking like how would you end this movie? Because you don't just want to end it with her being dead and him stopping being Spider-Man. So maybe it's more like you just have Electro, and then the resolution's basically she's gonna go to Europe, but then she said, "Oh, I'll go with you." And that's sort of an aim to defeat Electro, and that's the end. So a pretty positive note. And the next one is Green Goblin. They have a flashback with Green Goblin, with Harry and all this. It's their relationship. And then maybe halfway in, Gwen dies. And the other half, he stops being Spider-Man, but then he has to go be Spider-Man again. And there's a final big confrontation with Green Goblin.
Because I think Electro can stand on his own as a villain. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's again very different from like almost every other Spider-Man villain in almost all these movies, from Tobey to Andrew to Tom, because they pretty much always have some connection with Peter. So like that would be kind of the biggest difference of it. But for this movie, it so much focuses on Peter and Gwen that like you don't necessarily and the mystery of his parents and him with Aunt May, that you really don't need to focus heavily on him and the villain. The villain can just be a villain. There can be some things that connect to
Maybe
a theme or whatever he learns. Like all he wants is Ezra wants to be appreciated, is to be seen. I think Peter can relate to that. But so like you don't need him to be like a big connective personal thing. He can just be an antagonist and just let the rest of the film happen.
I think I solved it. I think I figured out how to. No, really, I'm curious what you think. But no, I know what I said. I think how you separate the movies.
I think that's an interesting way to do it.
Because when you said that,
but this movie, like I said, it's sort of constructed to kill Gwen. If you don't kill Gwen, it doesn't quite reach what it's trying to do.
I think they kind of like killed Gwen because they wanted to introduce Mary Jane, which for those who don't know, she was already like casted. She was basically in the movie, but they deleted her.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. Shailene Woodley.
Shailene Woodley.
Not to interrupt you, but Shailene Woodley as MJ. I can't even imagine how she would have fit into this movie. And there's so much going on already. And one of the other concerns I had, sort of like, if she would have been there, I think it's sort of we're giving you this vibe of like, oh, don't worry, Peter. Yeah, Gwen died, but like you got MJ.
Exactly.
I think it would have sort of devalued the relationship in Gwen.
This movie also introduces Felicia Hardy, which is Black Cat.
Yeah.
Again,
I honestly didn't even remember. That's why I Googled it.
Yeah, I forgot about it too until I was like, wait, there was like that secretary that helped out.
She's probably gonna fall into like a bucket of cats in the next movie.
Probably.
Again,
animal stuff.
I knew it was in the movie, and yet when he's like, "Who are you?" She says, "Felicia." I'm like, "Oh yeah!" And
I didn't even know. I had to Google it.
Then I was like, I thought by the end of the movie, I was like, I still thought there was more of her then. Like I thought, but like she had like 2 random scenes.
Yeah,
like, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I thought I would see more of her.
Yeah. Well, I know the idea was that she was going to get her own movie after The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I heard a long time ago that there was going to be like a Black Cat spin-off, but I honestly didn't even remember because like I had to Google like, wait, isn't that supposed to be Black Cat? And I had to Google Black Cat real name, and that's when I see Felicia something. I forgot the last name, and I was like, oh, it's her. And I was like, and I mean, I could have seen her. I think she like probably could have done a good job, maybe. I don't know.
I think so. I mean, she did. So I mean, she like had like nothing to do in the movie. She had like 2 scenes talking to Dane DeHaan, and I was like,
it's just like part of like that time and era. Whereas now, like we have with the MCU, we have all of these movies, so it's easier to set things up whenever you have like 5 movies come out in the year in the same universe. But for this is the second movie. Like they're not coming out with 5, Sony superhero movies that year. So like, we need to set them all up so then people are interested. And then later we can make a bunch of movies. You know what I mean? So that sort of era, we need to set them all up so then we can make the other movies. Whereas now you don't necessarily need to do that because it gets established, it's running, and you have all of these different franchises and series where you can add a reference a character here and here and here. You don't need to jam all 10 of them into this one. They basically, you could probably count off how many characters they tease in it and how many is it. I mean, Black Cat, and that's just another one shot. It's Doc
Ock, Vulture.
Well, we see Ravencroft Institute. I mean, I think you could imagine there's a lot of other creatures.
At the end, we see Rhino.
Rhino.
I mean, kind of Sony are doing that a little bit now. I guess doing like their own little universe.
They're still doing it. I mean, it started with Amazing Spider-Man. They had ideas for Black Cat, Silver Sable, Sinister Six. They still have those ideas. It's just that now, I guess they're being smarter about it, or they're like not repeating the same mistakes. Repeating some mistakes, just not the same big ones.
I mean, people talk about Toby coming back. I mean, Andrew will come back. I mean, he probably looks similar enough, right?
I would be 100% down if Andrew came back.
Yeah, if Andrew came back for a third movie. If Andrew came back for a third movie, it would be awesome. I would definitely be excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, now we have I don't want to say infrastructure, but now we have things set up. We have a couple Venom movies. There's going to be Morbius, stuff like that. Now we can have our own cinematic universe, and maybe, who knows, fingers crossed, seems like it, maybe not. If he's going to be in this other, this Spider-Man movie coming out, next month.
You can do anything now.
So yeah, here we go. Perfect. Who knows what will happen just in like this coming year, babe? What will be announced,
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I mean, talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, did you guys expect Andrew or Toby to come out, and were you disappointed that they weren't?
I didn't think they would, like whether they're in the film or not. I really didn't expect them.
I kind of thought they would tease them more though in the trailer, but no, I wasn't disappointed.
I know, like before we started, I'm pretty sure you said like my prediction is that, because I think I said what are our predictions? My prediction is like we'll see all the villains, and we'll see more of the villains that we saw last time, just like closer and some more confirmation, and like that'll be it. And that is
kind of right about that,
and that is enough because like that is very hype.
Oh, yeah.
Like, now we see Alfred Molina talking and like, without already like the posters kind of removed any shadow of a doubt, like he's not just a cameo when he's like his arms are like in the foreground. But like, yeah, when he's talking, he's interacting with him. It's like, oh wow, he's like a real character again. Like
got a great monologue from Green Goblin.
Yeah.
I got chills.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I sort of didn't expect them to show them. Yeah, maybe tease them or something, but yeah, because like to save that, because you want to use up all of your.
I think I really want to hold that, like whether they're in, and I don't know if I don't know if they'll be in there or not. My soul feels like they will be, just the way everything else is moving.
Head says not to.
But like it could be anything. I don't know what they're trying to. But
they talk about teasing them at the end of that trailer. They say, I can't stop them. They're they're coming through. Who?
I mean, we see Alfred Molina.
I feel like that's going to be like a huge misdirect. Like they're going to be like, they're coming through, and you think it's going to be the villains, but then boom. They're Spider-Man.
Just a bunch of Ralph Boners coming in.
I hope they don't do a Ralph Boner. Imagine if Tobey Maguire is like some guy named like I don't know, something with a P, like something completely random.
He's Ben Dover.
Yeah, he's Ben Dover.
I don't think they can get away with it twice, especially on a massive scale as this. Loki was big, or not? It wasn't Loki. WandaVision, but like this is like even. This is like everybody.
Like I feel like everybody would just get way furious. Like they would.
This movie would be like painted upon so much. If they did that, like nobody would watch this movie.
Yeah,
they would go like the first people to go see it. They would be like, no, don't watch the movie. They'll spoil the whole thing. They'll be like, fucking hate this movie. They'll trash it completely. I feel like Toby and Andrew, like they have to be in it. There's you can't bring back their villains without them. Like it doesn't work.
Also, that scene with Zendaya, I feel like when she's falling, I feel like Andrew Garfield's going to save her. I feel like he's going to redeem himself from this.
I think that would be incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like that would give me more chills than like seeing Toby. You know what I mean?
That's a really good point. Yeah, because I've heard. Watching Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, that is like we were saying, just that is kind of a chilling and very emotional scene. I do love the way the web opens up, very much like a hand reaching out to her.
Cool,
beautiful scene. Yeah, and if they sort of reprise that with Michelle Jones MJ in this movie, and Andrew gets to redeem himself, I think that would be beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard that it's a big plot point. I mean, it's a leak, rumor, whatever. I don't know, because the movie hasn't come out yet. But there's a rumor that there's a big plot point with Andrew explaining to Tom like his experience like losing Gwen. So I mean, if that is true, then Andrew has to save Tom's MJ.
Well, that would sort of seem like it's like what this. And now we're talking about the other movie, but like what that movie with the trailers telling us seems to be about, like about fate. It's like these guys all die, or are killed in battle with Spider-Man, these villains. And so like that being part of it, and Spider-Man also like his love interest also dies. Like that's also like the fate of Spider-Man.
I mean, I'm sure these trailers are showing us like 7% of the movie. Like I'm sure it's the tip of the iceberg in terms of what happens in this movie. Because even that first teaser gave us so much, and this full trailer just gave us like a little bit more. Like you see more of Ock and more of Goblin, but like they gave that away from the get-go. So I mean, like I can't imagine what they're holding back from us in terms of what happens in the movie.
And like I wanted to say, like in that trailer, we still only see 5 villains, like of the Sinister Six. So we're missing one. So
I really doubt that they do a Sinister 5.
Yeah. Furious 5, something like
that. The one thing I thought we might have gotten in the new trailer was maybe like Venom. I was like, if we get something new in this trailer, maybe it'll be Venom. just because now that like the film's been out long enough, everybody who has seen it knows that he's connected now to this. So like if we're gonna have something new in the trailer, maybe it'll be Venom. Didn't get that. That was fine. I think Electro looks freaking cool. I love the Electro as Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I can't believe they got away with like the yellow electric star mask thing.
Yeah, they did a really
That's so cool.
Yeah.
He's definitely different too. Like he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that gets like bullied at Oscorp.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we're seeing like not all of them, but the villains are kind of getting a redesign, but it looks really good. Like I don't know how they're pulling it off, but in my opinion, I think Electro. The whole star thing, I think it's really awesome.
Sweet.
And also,
he's wearing Tim's too.
I was gonna mention it's like I know the Doctor Strange mentioned that like it's their fate to die by the hands of Spider-Man or like fighting Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's like the Lizard didn't die, and
Sandman didn't die.
Sandman didn't die either. So how are they gonna like explain
I'm curious.
that?
Like if there are versions that did die in their universe from Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's my guess. Is that there's slight variants of the ones that we're familiar with.
But I'm curious again, like that. I mean, for all we know, like half the stuff in the trailer might not even be in the movie. You know what I mean? There's always lines and clips and effects. They either make just the trailer or it's a little different and then modify.
Have you guys seen that clip of the Lizard getting punched by?
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. No, look. Maybe it's him getting punched, or hear me out. Maybe he just got really distracted and like looked behind him really quick.
Yeah.
My girlfriend said the exact same thing. Like it was like a couple, like maybe like an hour or 2 hours after the trailer had already come out, and they were already showing that little footage of him getting kicked. And I showed her the video, and they're like, "No, dude, it's Andrew. And I was like so excited, and she's like, "No, he just looked the other way."
I mean, the way like his neck like protrudes, like a whole body turns, and the neck's like sticking out.
I thought maybe it was like the stuff behind him that hit him, but that wouldn't make sense because like that's your own teammate. You know what I mean?
Well,
like why would Sandman do that?
Right, but even like in the like the main trailer. Like you see Electro more going upward and Lizard going more downward.
He's jumping at somebody else. He's not jumping.
Yeah, like he just couldn't get enough air. Like he couldn't jump high enough. Which, to be fair, just a giant lizard.
He's a lizard. Or got lizard brain.
Go for something.
I mean, they could have done a little bit better with like. My camera's out of focusing, but they could have done a little bit better with like just editing a little bit. I think like Sony like kind of fucked up there. That like they could have edited a little bit where like changed the angle just a little bit and just like jump this way,
but
not down.
I think that's the fascinating thing they're doing with the marketing. Like they want you. They want like we're talking about it right now.
Playing right into their
hands.
That's true.
All these
maybe
videos,
they did it on purpose.
And TikToks and articles talking about. Oh, look, they're going that direction. Like, who's going to be there? What's it going to be? Like, just planting those things without giving anything away so they can have their cake and eat it too.
And it's like enough to also make you wonder, maybe it's not the other Spider-Man. Maybe it's somebody else too. Like,
maybe it's Doc Ock.
It could be Doc Ock. It could be like Ned being the Hobgoblin. I've heard that theory going on.
Who the heck knows?
Yeah.
Jeez, that'd be crazy.
I mean, something that we know about Marvel is that they love to mislead us with the trailers.
They do.
I mean, we saw it with Infinity War. We saw it with other movies. I mean, maybe they're doing it with this one for sure.
Yeah.
Well, like in Homecoming, there's a scene, the trailer for Homecoming, there's a scene of Spidey swinging with Iron Man. That was fabricated for the trailer. That was just made for the trailer, they said. One of our favorite lines from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that we love to quote doesn't even end up in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
What's the quote?
Scene when Harry says,
well, isn't that the question of the day? We say that all the time.
It's not in the movie. It's in the trailer. But it stuck with me.
It's a deleted scene where, Peter's like, how come Oscorp why are they watching me? How come Oscorp has all these files of me? Why are they so concerned with me? And Harry says, wasn't that the question of the day? And we love the way he says it. We love the line. It's one that we say a lot, but it ended up not appearing in the movie. So you never can tell with
that reminds me of that scene where Pete's like, that's the question. And he like goes over the railing.
I don't know what he's doing. But again, it feels very natural. Like they're just like two guys talking. But that's the question.
But he's just like going over the railing.
Like, also, Sir Please don't do that.
Also, he gets like a very distinct like New York accent in the second one compared to like the first one. I don't know, it sounds heavier.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love the weird quirks that Andrew's Peter has and the weird awkwardness.
I'm swinging here.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Yeah. And I didn't really get a chance to mention this organically, but I love that scene like midway through Amazing Spider-Man 2 where like he's walking toward Gwen after they've broken up and like he just looks straight ahead at her as he's crossing the street. The music's
all the
playing.
cars passing by.
That feels like such a distinctive like vibe for this movie only, you know, like this particular blend, this indie romance, you know, coming of age.
Well, doesn't like a car mirror like smash on them too? Like,
it's like what a great mishmash of like, you know, Mark Webb's, you know, sensibilities and superhero story coming together in a moment like that. And I kind of wish Amazing Spider-Man 2 had more moments like that, but it has a number of them, and that's one of my favorites. So
yeah, definitely. That's something that I know I mentioned it for the first one, but for the second one, the rating that Rotten Tomatoes has is very low. Not very low, but it's lower than the first one. It's a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. So like, I think what do you guys think
that went up a bit because I think last time I checked it was like a 40 something. Like years ago, I think.
Yeah, maybe people are watching it again.
Reevaluating. Interesting. You know, that seems a little unfair to me. At the same time, like, I guess 50% you say it's like half people like it, half people don't. I guess conceptually that sort of makes sense. But
I can see it more like 62.
Yeah, because like it is a little overstuffed. I think it's hard not to
it is
agree
a
with
weird
that.
movie. I feel like maybe more flaws.
I think the same problem that the first one has, this one has also, but more, they feel more glaring and just larger.
Like I know one thing, like one weird thing we mentioned is like, you know, Norman Osborn gives Harry like this basically like a glorified USB device. You know, this is all the, you know, sum total of my work. And then some later scene, a few scenes later, he's just like sitting in his office with it. He drops it and it opens. Like, well, did you know not how to open that? Like,
well, what's the plan?
Now, like, maybe there was a scene where he's like, "Now, my father gave me, you know, the sum total of his work, but I just can't get the thing open, you know? How ironic is that? You know what I mean? You know,
pretty good Dane DeHaan impression.
But then it's, and the same thing with like his parents. Like, you know, the stuff in the first film, you know, it connects more because it connects with the lizard and with the stuff and with his searching for himself. You know, there's a lot in the first movie, like, did you find yourself? You know, stuff like that.
Finding yourself?
Yeah, so like it works in the first movie. But like in the second movie, you know, we have the briefcase again and he gets the token and he finds Roosevelt. But like it doesn't really go anywhere. Like it extends that story, but doesn't connect to anything. Yeah, it's like the same issues, I think, it is this more glaring in this one.
Yeah, there's so much going on that it makes it hard to sort of connect as an audience member with any one story. Like we said, like Harry and Peter got a real short end of the stick there. So what I'm saying is like, I can't really blame anyone if they aren't really able to connect with the story.
As a film, again, like as a whole, was going in to watch a movie. Yeah, it definitely is.
At the same time, though, yeah, there's great acting, some great sequences.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great sequences. Obviously, we sort of mentioned CGI, so this kind of covers that, but like his fighting style is awesome.
Yeah, he moves so much like a spider, more than I've seen any of the other ones ever do. The way that he moves his body, and like in the first film where he's like webbing up the lizard, he's like crawling around him.
Yeah, he does like that pose. Also, like he does like a weird pose type of thing, like
that. He moves so well.
It's fascinating, and I think I've heard him say like he like studied how spiders move and stuff, which like you wouldn't think about.
And he also said like he wanted to move like a spider, whether he was in the costume or not. Like Peter is just kind of part spider now, and so whatever you say, Andrew Garfield put a lot of effort into this.
I love Andrew Garfield now, especially like since I learned that he like took like a massive like pay cut, or like he didn't take as much money for this movie just because he wanted to make sure that like he played Spider-Man and that like the rest of the movie got paid well. I think that was something that I read. So I thought that was really cool. Like
that's great. I hadn't heard that, but yeah, good on him. That sounds like the story.
I mean, Andrew Garfield is definitely like an amazing and underrated actor.
I think he's probably the best actor. I wouldn't say he's like the best
Yeah.
performance as Spider-Man, but I feel like he's the best actor to play Spider-Man.
Maybe.
Yeah,
If that
I
makes
agree.
sense.
I agree.
I
mean,
think the
I don't
movies
know.
do afford him a lot of chance to really show his chops too. He does get to show, because I think he took like clown lessons too, like for the scene where in Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he like trips up a couple of Oscorp goons, like ties their shoelaces, and like
Oh, that's so cool.
like it's a hilarious scene. But like I think he actually like took lessons, like was trained by some like professional clowns or something for that scene. So like you have that on one side. You have like how terrifying he is when he's hunting Ben's killer. You have just the heartbreaking raw emotion of him, mourning Gwen. He gets to do gets to show a lot of different aspects of himself in these movies.
Him being cool, him being awkward.
That's true, like the cool kid, the awkward kid, yeah, like the young love thing. So I think they sort of serve him well as an actor, if not necessarily maybe from a story perspective all the time.
Yeah, I mean, not Spider-Man talk here, but I've heard. I don't know if you guys have seen like all the things with the Andrew Garfield's newest movie, Tick Tick Boom. That he is. It's a musical with that Lin-Manuel Miranda directed, but he basically he took a whole full year of lessons for singing and for piano playing.
Wow.
So the dedication is definitely there. Like Sebastian mentioned, like I think he probably is like the best actor to play Spider-Man, like actor wise. The dedication is there. He really showed that he loved playing that part. I mean, it's kind of sad that we didn't get to see a third film for him.
Yeah.
But
but
it's definitely the detail that he puts in, like it's really appreciated.
I know I've seen like interviews where he like talks about like the canceled like Amazing Spider-Man 3 and like all the stuff they had planned. And he seems like just really genuinely sad that like he tried his best, but like the studio had different ideas and like it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe at the time, and I know you mentioned Peter before, like this dynamic of like, at the time, maybe fans have certain ideas than we have now, certain different feelings toward that Spider-Man or that character playing that role of, that large character actor playing that like common character, because like that's the current character, that's the current movie. If you don't love it, then it's kind of like, well, let's get something new. But from at that point when it's happening, but from this point where we're in the future after these movies, it's kind of like, well, you feel bad that it didn't get to keep going because you want all these, even if Spider-Man, that series, maybe isn't as close to me as the Raimi ones. Like, I still want to see what happens to that, that world. What happens in 3? What happens in 4? Like, sure, I would love to see that. But maybe at the time you're like, yeah, this is cool, but like let's get a different one.
When he's the Spider-Man that you're quote unquote stuck with, maybe
this isn't how Spider-Man's supposed to be. Yeah. He's too cool. He's too scary. He's too, and it is,
But now we have so many Spider people to choose from.
It's right. It's like, I wish we had more of that. Yeah. So just different, because you're just at a different.
It's a new mindset. It's a new mindset.
Hey, man, I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe if he comes back with No Way Home, they could be open to making another movie with him. Maybe. I mean, it would be.
I would love to see Amazing Spider-Man 3. I would love to see Spider-Man 4. Sony, please take my money.
If you're listening.
Definitely. I mean, it's kind of, if it does happen, it's kind of cool that like, but now the Raimi trilogy and also this are kind of canonized to the MCU. So it's a. I mean, it would be a really cool detail if it does happen, but I'm sure it will.
I would
it's an exciting time to be a Spider-Man fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say I would also love like a comic, just like continuing the story of these movies, like a Spider-Man 4 comic would be really cool.
Yeah,
and then eventually that could get like maybe animated or something like that with like the voice actors, like Andrew Garfield voicing Spider-Man. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
like if they can't do like a full-on movie, then that'd be
right. Yeah, there was a Sony email leak years ago. I know one of the things that they had mentioned in some notes at a meeting was like, maybe we could have Amazing Spider-Man 3 be animated just to give the fans some closure, So,
I mean, but now that like, oh, absolutely. I mean,
especially after Spider-Verse coming out, like, if that art style and stuff.
That's the thing. I mean, we're really opening up with so many movies and TV shows with Marvel, and one thing I like that DC is doing is they're very comfortable with having like 6 Batmans and 17 Jokers and like all of these at once. Like they don't need to be like, oh, we got to cancel that series, wait, and then 2 years later put out a new series. No, we'll do them all now. So I think they're kind of opening that gate. And now that Marvel's also opening with the multiverse and having TV shows and movies and cartoons and all that, I think they're all leaning more toward like, let's create whatever we want. We're not going to confuse the audience. They're not going to go like, oh, wait, this Batman was this Agent Gotham and now he's Ben Affleck? You know, like, no one's going to think that. But so, like, I think we're getting to that place now where anything can happen. That's awesome.
You know, you think like after Infinity War and Endgame, and you're like, well, that was like the end of an era, and like, you know, how can we top like these crossovers or just like these like hype, lovable character, like, you know, like it's such like the pinnacle of like superhero movies. But now it's like, well, if we're canonizing the original Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, well, that sounds like a pretty good like way to top that, to keep like going into the future and like, you know, what's like, you know,
past.
Yeah, like how are we topping that pinnacle of superhero? Like, well, all those things from like that era before that we love, well, now that's part of it too. Like, okay, like, yeah, that's sort of a way to one up it, to keep progressing here, you know? So, a new era.
I'd pay for
it. I think it's time we better like close it off now. It's we've been running a little long. This is probably the longest episode that we've had, but it's definitely not a bad one. Cool, yeah. It's definitely not bad because we love Spider-Man, and as you guys can tell, our listeners can tell that Wojteczko brothers, they definitely know their stuff. So thanks. This is not all bullshit that we're talking about. Like this is stuff that we actually know, we're passionate about, and the stuff that we love. You know, we're like we mentioned in the beginning, we're
web heads, you know.
Yeah, we're web heads. There you go. And like I said, I think it's better time we close it off. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. If you guys love Spider-Man, you guys have to follow the Wojteczko Bros on TikTok for sure. I mean, for the people that don't know, let's just can you guys say like how to find you, like the username?
Yeah, well, we're on TikTok at Wojteczko.bros. Wojteczko being spelt WOJTECHKO, like on the phone with like the bank or something. But so you can find us on TikTok. We create videos every day about a bunch of nerdy things like Spider-Man, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Marvel, video games, comic books. We go live usually every week. It's a fun place to hang out and talk about
usually
stuff.
Yeah, comedy type videos, like
not
necessarily like an informative type, like here's what's happening in the news. Sketch things,
playing off stuff. But
and then if you're looking for more Sam Raimi content as far as podcasts go, I've got a podcast.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, no, I'll beat you to it. But it starts, I think, about a week after this episode airs. One of my friends and I, we explore every aspect we can of Sam Raimi's podcast. It's called So Much to Tell, so named for the end of Spider-Man when Peter tells MJ he can't tell her everything. There's so much to tell. And you can find us on Twitter at SMTT Podcast, So Much to Tell Podcast. And also we've got a TikTok page as well, just So Much to Tell, all one word.
And streaming on Spotify, Apple.
And you'll find us streaming, wherever you find podcasts.
And that's November 30th, right?
November 30th we begin.
Yeah, I was about to mention your release date because yesterday I actually I went to go find it and I wanted to hear like the little trailer because I know they have a trailer right now if you want to go listen to it on Spotify. If you just look up the So Much to Tell podcast, that's when you'll find they come out on November 30th. So I'll be excited to listen to that for sure.
Thanks, JP.
Yes, and like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. You already know where to find the Wojteczko brothers. For us, you guys know you can listen. I mean, you can listen to on any any platform that you like: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or you can find us on all our social medias. Sebastian, anything else you want to say before we go?
Watch Spider-Man. That's it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Watch them all. Yeah, get ready for the next movie.
Let us know all your theories for Spider-Man in the comments. anywhere, tweet us, or also follow the What's Discord Brothers, and we can talk on their lives together. All right, guys.
Thank you, guys. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening.
Good talk.
Thank you guys for listening. This has been Stay to the Credits podcast. See you guys later.